Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ken, and today we're here to review David Cronenberg's The Fly. So this is our third review in our 13 Days of Horror. But like we've told you all before, we're not going to review every movie that we watch. We're going to be doing a separate ranking video when we watch all the films. So we will talk about all the movies, but we're only going to review like specific ones. And this movie is just too classic to not do a review for. Too iconic for sure. But before we get into it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about movies and TV shows, and we do fun, entertaining live streams every Monday night. Yeah. If you like that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button.
Come on down. Also, like this video.
Like the video, and then leave us a comment down below. What are your thoughts on The Fly from 1986? This is, I don't know if you know this, it's a remake.
I didn't know that.
There is a 50s The Fly with Vincent Price, which is a very different film.
It seems to be, a theme every so often, they just keep remaking stuff.
I mean, there's three big horror remakes in the 80s that all come from horror films of the 50s.
It's The Fly,
The Blob, and The Thing.
The Thing, okay.
Yeah. So
very nice, which I have now seen all three.
You have seen the
pat on the back.
One of the best remake trilogy, 80s remake trilogy.
There you go.
That there is.
Your work has been accomplished.
Yes.
Okay, so
I feel good about that.
Did we do all the things? Are we ready?
We did it all. Let's get into the thoughts. What are your thoughts? This is the first time watch for Michelle.
Yeah, so the Fly was definitely one that I was very interested in seeing. I had remembered walking in on you watching it before, and catching some of that what do you call it? Practical effects magic, if you will. Up there with The Thing, like I saw.
Oh yeah.
And so I was very excited to see this one. I will say that it was good. It was good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I do remember you. I felt like you had told me that it was honestly kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's a love story, and it is kind of a tragic love story.
I guess we should talk about who's in it.
Yeah, well, you got Gina Davis. You like Gina Davis from Beetlejuice?
I do. Yeah.
You got Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park.
He's very. Even though obviously this is an older movie, he's still very Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah.
In this movie.
Yeah. He always is Jeff Goldblum.
He is who he is. That. Yeah, that's for sure. So I guess I can appreciate that. He just has this very kind of spazzy, charismatic energy to him.
Yeah. And he's very young in this movie, so I feel like he is maybe
energetic.
Extra spazzy and energetic because he's a little younger.
Yeah.
Very eccentric, I think, is another word.
Yeah, that's a good word too. Great cast. So for me personally, I'm not quite sure if I fully bought into their relationship. To me, their relationship happened very quickly, and so when things were progressing, spoiler alert, as he's turning into the Fly, I felt like it was supposed to be sad, kind of heartbreaking, not just for him, but for their relationship, because they fell in love and they think they have their whole life together. I don't know. I just didn't quite buy it. I guess I just wasn't completely there for their love. I'm you guys have literally been together for a month or something, but
I mean, and that's kind of a thing with a lot of movies.
It is.
They kind of rush through that stuff. This movie, I will say, I agree with you. It does. The love stuff does feel a bit rushed.
It is a bit rushed.
And both of these characters are kind of flawed, almost unlikable characters.
Yeah.
So it's you're not necessarily rooting for them to make it, but also I don't know. There's something about it, and I'm not saying I'm boo-hooing by the end of it or anything, but you do feel a certain level of sadness just for thinking about what could have been. They're talking about going on a trip together, and then that never comes to fruition because of Jeff Goldblum and just how flawed his personality is. He just had to test it, before he got the information back. To
me, it's definitely they're both. Both of their characters are very career driven. Their work is their life.
And that's kind of how they cross paths.
Right.
I will say this about the movie. I forget this almost every time. The movie just picks up. It just starts. They're in mid conversation when we come into the movie.
Yeah.
So you don't really get to see them when they don't know each other. You don't get any of that. You don't get to like see them as individuals.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing them together for like the entire film. And it's kind of rare that you get like a relationship like starting off like that.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I do think that also takes away a little bit from the romance just because you don't know them outside their love.
I mean, you do get a little bit of like the outside world for Gina Davis.
Yeah.
But for him, I mean, it's mostly just like isolation. Like, I think he's like at an event in the beginning where they meet, but other than that, he's just like in isolation, like hard at work on his, his project or whatever. And so, yeah, it definitely, no offense, definitely gave me, vibes of a man who is just like into his work, like you. I could definitely like just see that like drivenness, like I've got to work. And so I, like I said, no offense.
I definitely wouldn't wait to find out the results of the monkey test.
Yeah.
I would just jump right in that machine.
Right.
Teleport myself.
But it just kind of reminded me, I feel like I almost wonder if this movie had like if it underneath it was trying to say that like your work can destroy you kind of thing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It definitely could have had that if you were looking for like a deeper meaning, or maybe this was just a movie about a guy turning into a fly. But yeah, other than that, the practical effects were amazing. Like, I love that stuff. I think it's so cool and awesome, and it was really neat to see him like just each time we got to see him.
Yeah.
He the changes that we're going through. I think that. I'm not quite sure if I thought he looked like a fly, though.
By the end, he definitely gets there, I think.
Well, even then, he just like didn't look like your like standard housefly, I don't feel like.
Well, he's still a human fly hybrid, so he's going to have a little bit of that, too.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, the practical stuff
and besides,
was
like,
just
if
great.
he literally just transformed into, like, a big housefly, like, that would look silly.
You
so
think?
I think that they had the right idea.
Yeah.
And
because he didn't have like wings, right? He had like maybe some like.
I think he started to develop wings at the end. I actually can't remember, but the effects work is just so damn good. It's like I'll buy into every bit of it just because.
Yeah.
Like it's just awesome. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's parts where like his fingernails start falling out, his teeth are falling out.
Yeah.
He's getting like these coarse hairs sticking out of his body. He's got goo coming out of him. And acid.
That's stuff like in the hands of another director, you would not have gotten that level of detail. Like David Cronenberg is known for like his extreme body horror. Like that's what they got him for, and he elevates this film so much just with all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, besides not being, entirely sold on the story, the love, I guess, romance of it, it was still very enjoyable. And again, the practical effects. I mean, that I feel like that's what puts this movie up there.
Also, like how, there is a progression, like you were saying earlier, like they come back and, you get to see him like every time she comes back to visit him, and there's a progression.
It's worse and worse.
It's not just he gets out of the machine and he's a fly.
Right.
Like, there's a progression there, and I like the progression. I think it's handled very well. And it does get to the point where it's just like, damn, like this is pretty damn gnarly. Like right now, what he's looking like.
Yeah. But again, they're like him specifically. Like obviously, he's going through something, so he's not going to be the most likable person. That's kind of what you were reminding me of. I'm like, honestly, he's like kind of an a-hole. But you're like, well, babe, he's like turning into a monster,
Yeah, like you were being very harsh on him, like during the movie.
I was not sympathetic at all.
I'm like, he's not himself right now.
Right.
Like I know he was kind of crazed before, but he wasn't that big of a dick.
Well, though, even before it happened, though, he was like still trying to convince her to like go in too, and stuff like that.
No, he wasn't.
I thought he was.
I don't think he started to convince her to go in there until.
I mean, I know he did at the end as well.
Until after he transformed, because he was feeling so powerful and she wasn't matching his like sexual energy. So he's like, "You need to go through this so we can basically have sex for 8 hours a day."
Yeah, it was. He definitely just became more unlikable to me.
Yeah.
So, but
the movie's like full of unlikable characters, like her boss. Like the part I don't like about the movie is the fact that you almost have to root for her boss, who's
I
just like a
know.
creepy like pervert, just a
He's
creep.
taking advantage of the situation.
And you almost have to root for him because he's like the only one that's like
Helping her.
almost good and helping her by the end
Yeah.
of the movie. So,
Yeah.
and
It
you know,
definitely is an interesting, like
dynamic.
he's supposed to be bad, but then also, yeah. So,
Yeah, like he's borderline like stalker creep like the entire film, and then all of a sudden you have to like root for him
yeah.
to succeed. So, but The Fly to me is it's an all time classic. Mostly for the just fantastic special effects and stuff. It's
Right.
really just a showcase of what the '80s were all about with like just great practical effects and.
Right.
In the hands of David Cronenberg, I don't think that anybody could have handled this movie the way that he did.
Yeah.
Maybe John Carpenter, but I still don't think John Carpenter does great practical effects and stuff, but like it's not as disgusting as what you see in The Fly. I don't think that anybody could bring that level of disgusting to the movie like David Cronenberg did.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I mean, as far as if I think that this is a must watch for spooky season, I don't know if I necessarily think that it's like a spooky season watch. I feel like this would be like a anytime watch,
Yeah,
for
I agree with
sure. But I mean, overall though, I'd still definitely recommend this movie.
it is a horror movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, you watch horror movies in October, but
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have like overt like Halloween vibes or anything.
Yeah,
like
there's
that, but-
there's no Halloween scenes or anything like that. But still, overall, very solid. Glad I watched it. And yeah.
There you have it. That is our review of The Fly. We recommend it. Watch The Fly if you haven't seen it. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.